And the first thing Paul said was the fact that when God forgave sin, God also opened the door for intimacy. Because it was sin that separated us from God. Now that sin has been taken away, we now have free access into God to have a relationship with him. And so Romans 5:1 said, being freely justified by faith, we have peace with God. The antagonism, the animosity that exists between us and God has been taken away. So a man now comes into intimate relationship with God. And the reason God opens this door is because when you dwell in the ambience of God, the presence of God has the ability to mortify the tendencies of sin. And so when God invites you into fellowship, the desire to continue in sin will die. And so when God forgave future sin, it was not a ticket for sin. It's actually because God created a system that will stop you from continuing in sin if you will embrace intimacy. And if you understand forgiveness, intimacy becomes natural, because gratitude will flow out of your spirit and you want to relate more with this God that decided to unconditionally forgive you. Number two, Paul revealed to us from Colossians 2:13. He said, we were dead because of our trespasses. However, when we were forgiven, he said life was quickened in our spirits. And so when God was forgiving us, you may call it pardon, but God doesn't see it as pardon. God actually sees forgiveness as quickening. So the moment God forgave you, he activated the forces of life in your spirit. And that life, we know, is what sustains the power to mortify sin and to mortify flesh. Because no matter how you desire to stop sinning, you can't stop. Because sin is a nature and sin is spiritual. So your resolutions cannot stop you from sinning. And so God knew that you will continue to labor in futility if you keep making decisions, because those decisions cannot affect something that has become your nature and sustains its root in the spirit. And so the only thing God will do to stop you from sinning is to go deep into your spirit man and activate the well of life. And the only way the well of life can be activated is for sin to be, for forgiveness to be credited to you. And so when God forgave us, life was activated. Your consciousness of forgiveness is what quickens that life that is in your spirit. Now, when that life begins to dominate you, which I will talk about here briefly when I'm talking about consecration, that life now begins to constrain you. That life begins to restrain you. That life begins to mortify the deeds of the flesh. And so the desire to sin begins to die. And you now discover, as the life grows on your inside, a time will come where that lust you couldn't resist suddenly dies. It loses the power. Because Paul said, what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, he said Christ dying for us activated something that had more power than rules and regulation. And he said that thing is called the river of life. That river comes with a law, and that law is what stops you from sinning. But that law cannot be activated except as forgiveness is first of all credited. And so when God forgave past, present and future sin, he wasn't giving you a ticket for lasciviousness. He was actually inviting you into the frequency and the corridors of life. And that life has the power to stop you from sinning.